Past the mountains, where people are told never to go, there is a petrified forest. Although petrified forests do exist in many places, I'm sure you can think of some yourself. This one is a bit unique, because it's not the trees that are petrified in this forest, it's everything else. If you are smart, you will visit the forest at night, preferably on a night where the moon is still new and not full. If you were smart enough to come in at night, you better be quiet. And if you're quiet, you'll see all the stone creatures that live in the petrified forest. There would be squirrels, bobcats, wolves, moose, deer, even birds, all petrified in place, frozen in mid-space. Almost like they were sculptures taken of something. What makes it most interesting about this place is that the trees and the plants themselves are not petrified. They're normal, as normal can be, at least at night. If one happened to wander into the forest during the day, they wouldn't wander back out. And if someone goes looking for you, assuming they're smart enough to go in at night, they may, if they're very lucky, find a sculpture of you, frozen in place, likely either trying to cover their face or cover their mouths, either trying to hide what they were seeing or to keep from screaming. And mind you, this is if they are clever and smart. Most who wander into the petrified forest are never seen from again. If you're brave, but not necessarily wise, you may go to the petrified forest on a full moon. What makes the full moon unique? Full moons tend to reveal things for what they really are. So if you go into the petrified forest during the full moon, you won't find a single sculpture. In fact, you'd be scarcely able to find a single stone. You'd find a forest that is very much alive. The deer would be trotting, the wolves would be hunting, and the bobcats would be sleeping. It would be a lovely place, lovely as any other forest anywhere else in the world. But it's unique because this only happens once on every full moon. Now, people don't truly know why people turn to stone in the forest. Some say there's a monster there that turns people to stone by looking at them. Some say it's something in the soil, and it only activates during the day. And a few people even go as far as to say that the forest itself is cursed. Although these are certainly creative, and in some other places it may even be true. But in this petrified forest, it's not anything like that. It's something much, much more familiar. The trees themselves. If you are very unwise but extraordinarily lucky, you may go to the petrified forest during the day. And there you will see that every tree that surrounds you has eyes. These eyes are small and almost human-like, often appearing in knotholes or at the ends of branches or even on the roots or the trunks. But these eyes, they keep a careful watch for anything that moves. And if they see something that tends to move, then the eyes focus. And if you are unlucky, they'll be focusing on you. Imagine standing in a clearing surrounded by sculptures of squirrels and people, and when you see the trees and they all have green eyes, all just focusing on you. A silent, judging audience, and you can tell they don't want you there, but you don't know what they're going to do. Well, if you saw the green of their eyes, you're already dead. For when they make eye contact with you, you will begin to turn to stone. Oh, the process isn't quick, not by any means, but it is painful. It'll start inside your body, First, you will notice you have a hard time moving your legs, and then you'll notice that you start to have a hard time breathing. It'll feel like every breath is through an elephant, that every step is a struggle against a stream. And then gradually, it begins to come out into your skin. You'll notice first on your legs when they're solid stone and you're unable to move them. And as your heart begins to slow, the rest of your body turns to slow, and then begins to turn to stone. It can take a few hours for this to happen. The longest I've heard about it was for a day, but for the person that took a day, they were screaming the entire time. Even when the entire body was stone, they still had just enough breath and just enough lungs left to keep screaming, even when they were blinded and unable to move. They still screamed. Now, you must be wondering, why do the trees want people to turn to stone? Well, a few reasons. The first and foremost is that way there's no one to cut down their trees. After all, humans had cut trees down around the world since millennia, and they were also worried about their own herbivores, chewing on leaves and chewing on their seeds. But the most final reason is for their own protection. See, if you're wondering why the full moon is good for the trees too, you must consider that the trees sleep at night, and if once a month the people that they turn to stone awaken, well, there is an ever so small chance that those people who awaken try to get away from the trees. And if they're lucky enough to get away from the trees, and the sun comes back up with the full moon gone, you have a sculpture in a new place. And if you're really lucky, that sculpture in the new place will get to stay where it is and begin to act as a seed for a new tree. And as that sculpture gets buried and begins to sprout into the new tree, the petrified forest will continue to grow. A new tree in a new place, able to turn anyone it sees while it's awake into a stone and to a new seed. So, when you go out to the petrified forest, be cautious, not just of the trees during the day, but the sculptures on a full moon, because you never know what the sculpture is going to do. The sculpture of a wolf will still hunt you even when it's a full moon. The sculpture of a person may turn on you simply because they're scared. And the most horrifying thought is all the sculptures who do get left alone manage to sprout into a new tree. How many trees are out there, I wonder? How many trees out there from the petrified forest? How many trees are we just waiting for them to wake up? And for them to open their eyes and face us? And then turn us